Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video I want to talk a little bit about some things that people might expect. There are some expectations when people move to Cambodia, and the reality might be a little different. Sometimes it might be for the better, sometimes it might be not quite what you're expecting. So I'm going to tell you things from my experience, and I've talked to some other people about their reality versus expectation kind of things. And we'll get into all that. But first, as always, I want to remind you that I have books for sale. If you want to see any of the books you see on your screen, there is a link down below where you can purchase them. And also, if you want to help support the channel, I do have links down below for PayPal. Or you can buy me a coffee or two at ko-fi.com, and that is always appreciated. We're still looking to get a couple $100. Thank you to everybody who's donated for that. But we still need some more help, and if you want to help, I really appreciate it if you can and if you want to. The first thing I want to say is I want to point out a specific comment. Greg 14 year. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, whatever the name is, there it is on the screen. I get confused with names. But there's his comment. Lives in a $30 a month apartment. He cleaned it up to make it a home. He bought some things for it that makes his life more comfortable. And he pays about $25 a month for his bills. There's a man who's happy with his life. Happy with Cambodia, I believe, and he just has the right attitude. Look at that, 55 bucks a month. He has his apartment and bills paid for, and that is a great bargain. And the reason I'm showing you that is because I get so many people when I talk about, yes, you can live here comfortably on $900 a month for the average person. They accuse me of lying, of being deceptive. And they are wrong. It's absolutely possible. It's not going to be for everybody though, and it's certainly not going to happen without some effort being put into it. But it's definitely possible and worth it, I think. And when it comes to the subject of me being wrong, I'll be the first one to admit I've been wrong a lot. Sometimes changes happen and I'm not aware of, so I say one thing and something has changed. And people like to point that out as if I'm some master liar or something, or that I'm being intentionally deceiving. Listen, I have no stake in whether anybody comes here or not. I encourage people to come and try, but I'm not getting anything out of it if you do. Or if you don't. So I have no reason to lie about what I see and experience here, or what I hear others seeing and experiencing here. There's nothing in it for me either way. Come here or don't, it's up to you. But when I am wrong, I try to explain that I was wrong, I was mistaken, I didn't have all the information, I said something the wrong way, got misinterpreted, whatever the situation is. I'm willing to admit that, because you don't get to right unless you're wrong once in a while. So if I am wrong about something, don't just get in the comments and say, why are you deceiving people? Tell me what you think I'm wrong about, and then show proof that I'm wrong. And if it checks out, I will correct myself in the next video. All right. So when it comes to the subject of Cambodia, people have certain expectations, and sometimes the reality is not what those expectations were. And I'll give you some examples here based on what other people have told me, other people's experiences, and of course my own. Because, you know, if you see these travel videos of people living in hanging by the beach, having cocktails in a lounge chair, or in these fancy condominiums, and living this fantastical lifestyle on the cheap. That's certainly possible, and that does happen. But for the average person, it's not going to be all, uh, drinks on the beach, living in a a $1,000 a month mini mansion or something like that. And that's okay. One thing I like about Cambodia is how it is really a great country to accommodate anybody's personal lifestyle. If you have the money and you want to spend it extravagantly, you can do so. And if you don't, you can certainly live much less inexpensively. And Cambodia, like I said, it accommodates all manner of lifestyle. But a couple things I want to touch on here, and the first one would be the subject of girlfriends. Now, the average viewer, according to YouTube analytics, that watch my videos are between the ages of 50 and 65, so they're in that retirement age, and they're 98% male. And when you get to that point in your life, you might be wanting to come over here, finding a long-term girlfriend, perhaps even a wife, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you should know what to expect. When you're dating outside of your culture in another country, there are language barriers and other things to consider. And the concept of what you would consider love in a relationship might differ from what some of these women consider a loving relationship, because there will be an expectation that you are somehow going to make their lives better financially, which is why women here actually love the older expat gentleman, because there is that expectation of moving up for them financially and attaining a certain lifestyle that they would not otherwise have. But that's not to mean, and a lot of people still think this, that every woman over here is just after your money all the time. They make it sound nefarious that all these women just want you just for your money in your bank account. And that certainly happens from time to time, but it's not all about that. Love is one of those weird things. Everybody's definition is going to be different. It's an intangible thing. It's like it's different for everybody, I think. But the concept we have back in the West about, love is like being together, us against the world, better or worse, sickness or health, till death do us part, rich or poor, we're going to stick together because we like hanging out with each other and we love each other, that kind of thing. But over here, that might not be the case. And I was talking with this with my buddy Kelly from Autumn in Asia. You can find his channel linked below. And, he made a couple good points. He said, hey, if you got to pay a woman before you even take her out, that's probably not a good thing. And I would tend to agree with that. If she wants money before you even take her on a date, that's probably going to continue. That's kind of a bad sign. But he also made a good point that if you don't have the financial resources to maintain a certain lifestyle any longer, and you have to downgrade, and she still stays with you despite that, then that's a very good sign. That means there is some commitment there. She sees something in you other than just your wallet, and chances are she'll be good for you in the long run. And it's, like I said, it's not that these women don't love you, but like I said, love is different for everybody, and their concept of what constitutes a loving relationship just might differ a bit than what you might expect. Family is hugely important over here. The family unit is held in high regard, and so there might be expectations for you to also provide for members of her immediate family if you start dating a woman here. And these are things that need to be discussed, but then again, you do have the language barrier sometimes, and things sometimes get misinterpreted. But if you want to come over here and date, that's fine, but just kind of have a conversation. Try before you get in too deep to figure out what each of you will expect. And I can tell you this from experience, Cambodian women will. I mean, they'll go all out for you domestically. They'll cook, they'll clean, they'll shop, they'll look out for your needs. But again, there is going to be that expectation of of a certain lifestyle a lot of the times. And the women here who speak really good English and have really good jobs and are very educated and intelligent, and you can have intelligent conversations with, those are fewer and far between, because most of the time they are already spoken for in some capacity, whether they have a boyfriend or a husband or something like that. So just keep that in mind when you come over here. Just something to think about, and so you don't wind up with a broken heart, I guess you can say. And next, you should be aware that Cambodia is a country of transition, or transient is what I'm trying to say. People here are very transient. You're going to come over here and make friends. You're going to make all kinds of local friends. You're going to meet all kinds of expats from all parts of the world. You'll probably be friends with some of those. But it's difficult to forge those deep friendships, those deep lasting friendships like we had, that you might be used to back in your country. And the reason for that is because expats are a weird bunch anyway, right? We all decided we're going to pack it up from our home country and just come over to a strange place where we don't know the language, don't know the culture, and just live our lives. So that's kind of weird, and right at the beginning. But people come and people go. You meet a friend, they're here for a few months. You like hanging out, you're not lonely, and all of a sudden that person's going to leave. And a lot of expats that live here, they spend like 6 months here, 6 months back in their home country, which is fine, of course. But you just don't get that long-lasting bonds of friendship like you would back home. So, and I had one guy who came here, and he just found it very difficult to make any kind of real, deep, meaningful friendships with people because of the transient nature of the country. Now, I have many, many friends here, and I appreciate their friendship, but you just have to be aware that at some point they might leave. They might go back home either permanently or for months at a time, and you're not going to have that friend to hang out with and do things with anymore. And for some people, that's a pretty big deal. So, just something to keep in mind. And the last thing I want to talk about is simply this concept. Many years ago, Cambodia was called the dollar store of the East because everything was like $1 or less, And that, of course, is no longer the case. There are still articles online. It is still very inexpensive, extremely inexpensive, but things are going to be more than $1 in general now. You're not going to find too many things that aren't going to cost $1. Of course, things like your soda and your drinks and snacks, you can find those for 50, 75 cents. You can still find a good bowl of babor for 75 cents, but a lot of these things are going to be $1.25, $1.50, $2, $2.50. I talked about that in my previous video about the price of things going up because of the economy and Cambodia's status. But it's still extremely inexpensive. So don't get me wrong thinking, I'm not going to be able to afford it, because you still can. But if you come over here with the expectation that everything's going to be $1 or less, that's not the reality of the situation. It is going to cost a little bit more. However, when it comes to housing, as I showed you before, Mr. Fortunier, whatever his name, $30 a month for an apartment, $50 apartments, $100 apartments, $150, extremely inexpensive. and they are all over. So I thought I'd just give you that information so you kind of know what to really expect when you get here, not based on videos you see from people who are living a certain lifestyle that you might not be able to afford, things like that. And you know, Cambodia, the culture is easy to figure out, but it has so much intricacy. Like there are threads running through it that even I haven't experienced everything there is to know. Um, and there's a lot of ins and outs to it, and that's just something that you really have to figure out when you get here and experience. Um, so come here, watch how people do things, and try to follow suit. Don't try to do something the opposite way, because obviously you might be making a cultural faux pas, and you don't want that label as the barang who doesn't respect the culture.
So,
All right. So that's all I have to say. Be sure to check out all my links down below.